In the journey of being human, there are two entities that always walk hand in hand yet frequently clash. The need for material wealth, money, and the aspiration for happiness, life. We spend the majority of a lifetime's time working, making a living and accumulating. Yet strangely, as the numbers in the bank account increase, the anxiety and emptiness in the soul sometimes grow, in direct proportion. Why is it that money, originally a means to seek happiness, frequently becomes the shackles binding humans to suffering? Based on the teachings steeped in wisdom and the approachability of Venerable Thich Hoa, this topic will lead us on a journey of awakening. It is not to reject the value of money, but to reposition its status. Together, we will explore how to master the power of material things, operate the mind according to the law of cause and effect, and practice the art of knowing enough so that every step on the path of making a living is a step closer to the shore of peace. In the rushing current of the 21st century, money has become a kind of religion without borders. People use money to define success, to buy respect, and even to fill the emptiness in their souls. However, under the Buddhist perspective and through the teachings of Venerable Thich Hoa, we need a more awakened view so as not to turn our lives into a slave contract for material goods. Money, ontologically, possesses the nature of emptiness. It has no soul, no morality, and no inherent good or bad nature. Master Phap Hoa often compares money to a stream of water. If the water flows into a flower garden, it nurtures life. If it flows into a swamp, it increases the stench. The problem lies not in the bill in the pocket, but in the intention in the mind of the one holding the money. When we understand that money is a skillful means, we use it to create happiness. But if we mistakenly believe money is the end goal, we will be manipulated by it. A carpenter uses a hammer to drive nails to build a house. The hammer is a tool. But if that carpenter spends all day only cleaning and worshiping the hammer while forgetting to build the house, that is a reversal of values. We are the same, preoccupied with accumulating the means while forgetting that the true purpose of living is peace and joy. Few of us admit to being slaves to money. We always tell ourselves, I work hard for my family, for the future. That is true, but the boundary between working to live and living to work is very fragile. The swap in status occurs when money begins to dominate our moral decisions. When you are willing to sacrifice honesty for an extra bit of profit, when you miss the moments of your children's growth just to earn more numbers in an account that you don't actually need right away, that is when money has climbed into the seat of the master.
Master Pháp Hòa emphasis.
Money is a good servant but a bad master. This master never knows enough, never knows mercy for your health or your soul. He will wring you dry until your last breath, and then when you lie down, he finds a new slave. Why does a person who already has enough to eat and wear still not feel peace? The answer lies in two psychological states: greed and fear. Greed, desire, is a bottomless pit. Consumer society always creates new needs so that we feel we are lacking. You have a car that runs well, but advertisements say you need a car that shows class. Want has overwhelmed need. Fear, we fear the instability of the future. We accumulate money like a shield against illness and death. But Buddhism teaches the law of impermanence. No amount of money can bribe old age or prevent the law of the physical body's decay. When we use money to fill fear, that fear only grows larger because we then fear losing the money. Life often offers awakening comparisons regarding how we spend more on the shell than the core. We can buy a luxurious house, material value, but cannot buy a home, spiritual value. We can buy the service of many people, but cannot buy loyalty and true love. Being poor in money is not necessarily suffering, but being poor in love and understanding is certainly a tragedy. There are people so rich they have nothing left but money. Their souls are parched because every relationship is built on exchange. The teaching Money and Life reminds us to return to caring for values that cannot be priced. The serenity when laying down to sleep, the innocent smile of a child, and compassion for the pain of fellow beings. Mastering money is not about having a lot of money, but having the capacity to be happy even without money. An awakened person is one who knows how to use money to beautify life without letting money stain their heart. Start by observing your mindset every time you hold money in your hand. Does it bring you pride or gratitude? Does it make you feel free or anxious? Only when we separate our value from the numbers in the bank do we truly begin the journey of a free person. Money should only be the bricks for us to build the castle of virtue and wisdom, not the walls that imprison our souls in selfishness and fear. Each of us has our own definition of just enough. For some, it is a large house. For others, it is just a warm family meal. So for you, how much money is enough to exchange for peace? Please share your perspective in the comments below. We truly value your experiences. Life often reminds us, money has no character, but the intention of the person holding the money will breathe soul into it. A coin given with a narrow mind will carry heavy energy, but a coin given with great compassion will become a miracle that soothes pain. We often only see the numbers printed on the bill, but the eyes of an awakened person see the energy behind it. Master Phap Hoa analyzes the concept of clean money, right wealth, and murky money. Murky money is the result of deception, coercion, or harming sentient beings, such as trading weapons, addictive substances, or fraud in business. When holding this money, even if you try to enjoy it, the consciousness is always in a state of underlying unrest. The karma of the suffering that others had to endure for you to have that money will follow you like a shadow. Clean money is created from sweat, wisdom, and honest service. When spending this money, we feel confident and light. The positive energy from honest labor will nurture a happy family and a solid inner self. A bowl of rice eaten from clean money always brings a deliciousness and peace that luxury banquets from illicit money can never have. Generosity, giving, is the first of the 6 paramithas, but the Buddha taught us that if not understood correctly, we easily turn giving into a spiritual transaction. Many people make offerings with an investment mindset, giving a little in hopes that the Buddha will give back more. That is not generosity. That is greed disguised as volunteerism. For an act of giving to bring immeasurable merit, it needs to reach the state of the 3 wheels are empty. The giver must give with a heart that does not expect a return, not being arrogant as a. The way of giving is more important than the gift. A respectful attitude when helping someone in difficulty will create much greater blessings than throwing money out with a disdainful look, no matter how large the amount. Never make excuses that because you are poor, you cannot perform acts of merit. The Buddha taught us 3 ways to use money and use life to help others. Material giving, sharing material things, money. This is the easiest way but only addresses the surface of suffering. Dharma giving, sharing knowledge, skills, or right advice so others can stand on their own feet. This is the most sustainable gift. Giving of fearlessness, giving the absence of fear. In a volatile world, a word of encouragement, a quiet presence for others to lean on is a priceless gift that no gold or silver can buy. The greatest suffering related to money is attachment. The thought, this is my money. This attachment is like a chain binding us tightly to the fear of loss. Master Phap Hoa teaches us to look at assets as items borrowed from the bank of the universe. We only have the right to use them for a few short decades of a human life. When we close our eyes, we cannot take a single cent with us. We only take the karma, which is the mental imprint of how we treated that money. If we consider ourselves a steward instead of an owner, we will use money more wisely, more generously, and with less suffering when the law of impermanence sweeps through and depletes our assets. In the teaching Money and Life, the core message is, the life of making a living is a great school. Every coin you hold in your hand is an exam paper. Do you use it to create more resentment or to form more good affinities? Do you use it to satisfy the ego or to soothe the suffering of others? If your heart is peaceful and full of compassion, money will become pure lotus petals. If your heart is greedy and selfish, money will turn into a hot fire burning your own forest of merit. Always remind yourself, use money to nurture morality. Never use morality to exchange for money. Only when the mind masters money can you truly taste the flavor of freedom. Each of us has our own definition of just enough. For some, it is a large house. For others, it is just a warm family meal. So for you, how much money is enough to exchange for? Peace? Please share your perspective in the comments below. We truly value your experiences. In a society run by the gears of consumption and advertising, we are constantly injected with the idea that happiness is directly proportional to what you own. We believe that having a little more money, a larger house, a newer model car will make us truly fulfilled. However, Buddhism offers a completely opposite definition. Happiness does not lie in owning a lot, but in having few desires. Contentment, TUC, is often misunderstood as resignation, laziness, or a lack of ambition. But the Buddha taught that contentment is knowing enough. This is an extremely powerful and proactive psychological state. A person who knows enough is the richest person in the world because they have ended the poverty in their thoughts. There are people who own hundreds of billions of dong but still live in hunger. They hunger for recognition, hunger for safety, and always fear others surpassing them. Conversely, there are those who only have enough for food and clothing but whose souls are always vast, because they are not haunted by the shadow of craving. Enough here is not a fixed number in an account, but a stopping point in consciousness. When you say, "It is enough," immediately all the pressure from comparison will vanish. We often take a very relatable example. An old phone is still working well, but as soon as we see a friend holding the latest model, we suddenly feel our phone is obsolete and inferior. This feeling of lack does not come from actual need, but from comparison. Most of the suffering of modern people does not come from having nothing to eat, but from others having something more beautiful. We are living in an era where self-worth is equated with the value of accompanying material items. Contentment helps us sever this toxic link. When we understand that our value lies in character, morality, and inner peace, we will no longer exhaust ourselves chasing the hollow standards of society. This is the most important practice to achieve financial and spiritual freedom. What we need is actually very little. 3 clean meals a day, a soft bed to sleep on, a few decent sets of clothes, and a roof to shield from rain and sun. These are the essential needs to maintain life. What we want is infinite. We want cars to be luxurious, clothes to be branded, houses to be tall. These wants are mainly to nurture the ego self, to prove to the world who I am. Our life, our stomach can only hold so much, our back can only lie on so many square meters. So why do we spend 24 hours a day, 365 days a year just to accumulate things that we will never use up? When we shorten the list of wants, we will find we have plenty of time to love, to practice, and to live a meaningful life. A person who knows enough is a person with the greatest power, because they cannot be bribed. If a person is not too greedy for fame and profit, no force can use money to force them to do things against their conscience. Contentment creates a protective armor, helping us walk through life without being swept into the whirlpools of contention and gossip. The Buddha also affirmed that knowing enough does not mean not working. We still labor, still contribute, but with a different mindset. Working for the joy of service, working to create value for life, rather than working in fear and a thirst for possession. When working with a mindset of contentment, the quality of work will be higher because our mind is not distracted by anxieties about the result. A person who knows enough sees beauty everywhere and finds everything delicious. A cup of plain tea becomes fine wine when the heart is at peace. A small house becomes a palace when filled with laughter and understanding. The Buddha also taught us, happiness is not about having a lot, but about letting go of what is unnecessary. When you drop the burden of greed, you will feel your feet become light, your soul vast, and this life inherently enough for all of us. Each of us has our own definition of just enough. For some, it is a large house. For others, it is just a warm family meal. So for you, how much money is enough to exchange for peace? Please share your perspective in the comments below. We truly value your experiences. Money is not naturally born and does not naturally disappear unreasonably. It operates according to hidden laws that Buddhism calls cause and effect, karma. If we master this law, we will no longer lament our fate when in need, nor be arrogant when in abundance. In the Eightfold Path, the Buddha emphasized right livelihood. The Buddha taught that the way you earn money will determine the destiny of that money. Earning money through wrong livelihood, occupations based on the suffering of sentient beings, trading weapons, addictive substances, fraud, killing, can bring huge profits in the short term. But under the lens of cause and effect, that money carries toxins. It is like drinking salt water to quench thirst. The more you drink, the thirstier you get, and the price to pay is unrest, illness, or the dissolution of the family in the later stages of life. Earning money through right livelihood are jobs that bring benefit to society, not violating morality and law. This money is called virtuous money. When you hold virtuous money in your hand, your heart is light and your family enjoys. In peace, the Master often reminds us, eat a little less and sleep well, rather than eating luxuriously and having a heart full of fear. Many people wonder, why do I work hard but remain poor, while others seem to encounter luck very easily? Sowing the seed of generosity. Wealth in the present is the result of seeds of generosity and sharing sown previously. A person with an open heart who often helps the poor is a person making a deposit in the bank of the universe. The consequence of stinginess. Lack is sometimes a lesson for humans to recognize the value of sharing. However, cause and effect is not an unchangeable fate. If you are currently in difficulty, start sowing the smallest good seeds, helping others with strength, with good words, with guidance. When the cause changes, the financial effect will also gradually transform. There are many people who are very good at making money but can never keep it, or have money but encounter nothing but disasters, illness, children squandering. Master Phap Hoa compares blessings to water in a barrel. Making money is like pouring water into the barrel, but living without virtue, being wasteful, looking down on the poor, or indulging in decadence are the holes at the bottom of the barrel. If you do not care to mend the moral holes, then no matter how much water you pour in, how much money you make, your barrel of blessings will soon run dry. Knowing how to keep blessings is more important than knowing how to make money. That is the Master's profound message for those standing at the peak of their careers. Life always has its ups and downs, like a sine wave. A practitioner will look at the increase and decrease of assets with calm eyes. When prosperous, do not be too arrogant. Do not think it is all due to your talent. Understand it is thanks to favorable timing, geographical advantages, and ancestral merit. This is the time to share more, to reinvest in the fund of blessings. When declining, do not be too desperate or resentful. Consider it a holiday of destiny to return to caring for your spiritual life. When material things are lost, it is an opportunity to realize what is truly sustainable, such as deep affection, health, wisdom. The Master teaches, losing money is only losing a means. Do not let it lose your peaceful mind. Each of us has our own definition of just enough. For some, it is a large house. For others, it is just a warm family meal. So for you, how much money is enough to exchange for peace? Please share your perspective in the comments below. We truly value your experiences. Money can come as fast as the wind and go as fast as smoke, but the karma, action imprint, associated with it will follow us forever. Through this, we understand that to have a long-lasting, prosperous material life, the only path is to build it on the foundation of honesty and compassion. Treat every financial transaction as an opportunity to practice morality. When you enrich yourself while simultaneously beautifying life, you are creating a type of asset no one can steal. That is noble wealth. Our biggest mistake is often separating going to work and practicing. We assume that going to work is a stressful battle, a place where one must compete, while practicing is for when entering a temple or sitting before an altar. Venerable Thich Phap Hoa often teaches, "The marketplace of life is the largest meditation hall. If you do not find peace while making money, you will hardly find it anywhere else." Practicing is essentially adjusting your attitude toward life. When you work with a service mindset, work is no longer a burden. Master Phap Hoa reminds us, if you are an accountant, honesty in every number is a sutra session. If you are a janitor, the cleanliness you bring to the environment is an offering of a flower. The secret to not burning out in life is establishing mindful silences. Between stressful meetings or when facing deadlines, practice the habit of stopping for just 3 breaths. Bringing the mind back to the body right at the desk will help you cut the flow of negative thoughts, recharge energy, and view problems more clearly. Peace is not running away from work, but bringing stillness into the busyness itself. The pressure of bread and butter is an objective reality. However, suffering does not come from the pressure itself, but from how we react to it. The Master teaches, what will come will come. Worrying does not help solve the problem, but only wears down wisdom. When facing a financial crisis, an awakened person will not fall into despair or resentment. Instead, they calmly look back at the causes and conditions. Am I spending beyond my means? Am I being too greedy? When accepting the truth that currently I am in difficulty without judgment or shame, your mind will be calm enough to find a solution. Remember, money can be lost, but if you keep your alertness and will, you can always start over. The family is often the place most heavily affected by external pressures.
Master Pháp Hòa emphasis.
Building an awakened family, where love is placed higher than material interests. The harmony of husband and wife. If both understand the philosophy of knowing enough, the family will no longer have arguments comparing this person's house or that person's car. Educating children on life values, instead of leaving a pile of money for children, something easily causing ruin if lacking. Wisdom, leave them an example of honest labor and compassion. That is the most sustainable inheritance, never inflated or devalued over time. The ultimate purpose of making money is to buy happiness. But if we keep chasing the future while forgetting how to feel the present, we are making the biggest losing transaction of our lives. The Master often reminds us to practice being happy with things that do not cost money. A cup of hot tea in stillness, a reunion meal without the shadow of a phone, or a leisurely step under the sunlight. When you have the capacity to find joy in simple things, you will be less dependent on expensive amenities. True freedom is when you can live happily even with only a few spare coins in your pocket, because your source of joy comes from within, not from without. Through the analysis of these 5 parts from the teaching, we realize a simple but extremely powerful truth. Money is to serve life, and life is for loving and understanding. Do not wait until you close your eyes to realize you spent your whole life being a steward, guarding a treasure for others, while your soul withered for lack of peace. Live so that every coin you earn is a step bringing you closer to goodness, and every day that passes is a day you truly master yourself. Remember the Buddha's advice. Money can fill the pocket, but the mind must always be spacious. Spacious to love, spacious to tolerate, and spacious to smile before all the fluctuations of life. That is the peak of the art of living money and life. Looking at the correlation between money and life, we realize that money itself is not at fault. It also does not have the capacity to grant happiness or sow suffering on its own. Everything originates from the mind. When our mind is deluded and greedy, money becomes a hot fire burning away morality. When our mind is awakened and open, money becomes a lotus beautifying life. Living in the world, we cannot avoid touching money, but we have the full right to decide whether to hold it with the hands of greed or the hands of service. Through the philosophies of contentment, right livelihood, and stillness in labor, it is hoped that each person will find their own ideal balance. Still working one's best but not losing oneself. Still rich in material things but not poor in soul. Remember that when leaving this temporary realm, the only thing we take with us is not the bank balance, but the vibrations of love and the serenity in memory. Wishing you always keep a pocket that is enough and a heart wide enough to live a life of ease and freedom amidst the rushing current of life. Money is the means, but peace is the destination. Hopefully, today's sharing will help you feel lighter on the path of making a living. If you find this content useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss lessons on Buddhism and life every week. Share this video with your loved ones if you think they also need a moment of silence. Wishing you a life of ease.